fellow AAL student employees, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to read over the letter that I sent out about our new protocols and procedures in the lab this coming semester. I also wanted to take the time to go over it and talk you guys through it so it may sink in a little bit more and may address some of the things that I didn't communicate clearly in the letter. So I'm going to share the screen so we can look at this. So first of all, I want to start off by reiterating my thanks to the summer employees, Mary Swartz, Jamie Godfrey, Jacob Petro, Joel Sharp, and Audrey Speicher and Garrett Goyette for coming in this summer and dealing with all of these new hurdles and working efficiently with all the new processes. You guys have been really great. And thanks to our June field crews for the Morgan Monroe State Forest project that implemented our fresh out of the box field safety protocols for COVID this summer. So thank you guys for doing that. You guys all did a really good job and really helped us work out all the kinks in the processes. So since there is a lot to digest, I'm going to go ahead and dive in. First of all, you can see over here we have the list of the action items that you guys will need to all take care of if you have not already. And in the PDFs that were sent to you guys, there are links so you can see, go directly to those pages. And you will need to certify that you meet the criteria for returning to work for BSU and fill out the Cardinals Care Pledge. You will also need to review the wellness questionnaire and fill that out each day that you come in. You will need to get your lovely BSU cloth masks. Each of you should get 2 of those. Some of you were on our distribution list, and your masks, if you do not have them already, are at your assigned workstations. We also have disposable masks, and those have also been distributed to stations, and there will be masks at the door to the AAL so that everybody can put their mask on before they come in if they don't have one already. When you take the wellness questionnaire, you will fill it out online, and then you will come to the front door of the AAL, take your temperature, record the temperature in the questionnaire, and then you will submit that and then show Caroline or whoever supervisor is available your results page and discuss any of the potential cautionary items that you have. If the page tells you when you're done that you need to go home, do not come into the lab. That means that you do not meet the criteria to work on campus, and you will need to notify your supervisor and go back home, and then we'll work out the details of how you can come back into the lab. We have also implemented a new sanitization protocol, and so everybody has their own sanitization supplies at their workstation. They will need to clean the touch surfaces of their workstation and record the timing that you do that on the sanitization schedule form at your workstation. And you'll need to sanitize when you get there, every 4 hours during your shift, and then before you leave. And very important, monitor your own health, monitor your own risks, and stay home if you are feeling even slightly sick. And maintain your awareness of where there are transmission risks. We all need to be very intentional about how we go about our daily lives in order to minimize the risk of transmission during the pandemic. And also, as we're doing all of this, this can be very stressful and anxiety-inducing. And so we want to make sure that you guys are aware of the services through Ball State for counseling services and coping resources that are available to you. And if you are having issues please feel free to talk to us and let us know what's going on to see if we can help. You do not have to tell us what's going on, but we are here to help, and we would like to make sure that you get the resources that you need. And we will all need to be kind, considerate, and conscientious to make it through this interesting time that we are all experiencing. So, first of all, back to the letter, we all need to take the pandemic seriously. It is a risk, even though most of us are, and most of you are in an age group and a segment of the population that is not at high risk for complications. That does not mean, one, that you can't get it. And if you do get it and don't have symptoms, it doesn't mean that you won't spread it to someone else. And so we are all required to take steps to control the possibility of spread. And so it's in our best interest to always act as if we have it and are asymptomatic and could spread it to other people. And that is why we're wearing masks when we are in the lab and when we are even outside close to people and cannot ensure spacing. So we always want to treat our actions as if we are preventing ourselves from giving the virus to someone else. Now, going through the current situation, there are several different guides out there on when certain kinds of activities are okay, but there is a widely cited guide for recommending when to open K-12 schools. Now, this is not for universities, but these are the kinds of metrics that we need to be looking at in order to assess whether or not the community is dealing with the pandemic appropriately and what level of risk we have just being out in the community. So first of all, the positivity rate, that's the proportion of tests, all tests that are given that come back positive for the virus. Now, there are false negative tests, but that's not a major concern. The positivity rate target is below 5%. And right now, Delaware County is at a positivity rate below 5%. That's something that we just achieved for the first time since, I believe, since June. And so if you go to the Delaware County GIS hub, you can view here we can see the positivity rate. We are finally into the blue range since they've started tracking or posting that. And so we are on a slight downward trend in positivity. But you can see here, this is the number of positive tests, or the rate of positive tests in the state. The state is about to see a slight spike in their positive rates after we get out of the preliminary period. And we can view the county and see that we do have our positivity rate is going to jump here and probably once this data becomes finalized for the 20th as well. But they had a low number of tests on those days. But our positivity rate is right around the target. The next thing that they are looking at is the number of new cases per unit of population. And so the target that a lot of people are using is one new case per 100,000 each day. And so in Delaware County, we have around 114,000 people, and we are currently averaging over 7 new cases per 100,000. But this has been on a slight decline, as we can see here. We have been trending downwards since the 9th, but it may seem to be leveling off. And then the next one is that we need to be on a 14-day decreasing trend of cases. And we will be on a 14-day, have completed a 14-day trend if it keeps going down by Monday. So we are getting close to a good place for what is recommended for K-12 schools. But it is up to us and everybody else that's coming back to campus now to keep this trend going. But also note that the R naught, or estimated transmission rate for the virus, and this has actually changed since I wrote the letter. Yesterday it was estimated at a 1, but as new data keeps coming in, they keep updating this model, and now we are below 1. And so this is going to see a declining on average. The sick person is going to infect less than one person per one new person. And so that is, we are getting out of the community spread stage of this if that trend continues. But there may be some blips coming in the near future. And so to illustrate that, I was told that this graph wasn't as clear as I thought it was, so I will try to explain it a little bit. So in the past couple of weeks, the estimated reproductive rate for COVID in Indiana has ranged from, well, now down to 0.98, but it has usually been between 1.04 and 1.09. That does not sound very high, but what we can see here is this is the estimated number of cases for the previous 2 weeks, how many new cases you would get if we were at a 1.04. And so starting off with 164, we would end up with 1,725 cases in 60 days, 2 more months. So that's not all that bad, but it is definitely not very good. Now, if we start off with those 164 cases and we have a transmission rate of 1.09, we end up with almost 30,000 cases. So that even that little bit above 1 means that it is spreading and is very, very dangerous. So we need to, that's why limiting the spread, slowing the spread is so important, because we bring that reproductive rate number down, which has a drastic effect on the volume of cases that we get in the end. All this in here is just to point out that, yes, it is dangerous, and it is dangerous for all age groups, even without pre-existing conditions. And yes, asymptomatic spread is real. It does happen. And so we are carrying all of our exposure risk with us everywhere we go. So if we are visiting someone, family, friend, that is at high risk, we are taking our accumulated risk with us everywhere. So because of that, we now have new, because of all this, we now have new safety protocols in the lab. And so I will this up here. And so our new safety protocols are masks are required at all times when in the AAL. And we do have face shields, enough, or just enough now, for everybody. And these will be yours. They have to stay at your workstation. You have to sanitize them. But whenever there are more than 2 people in a room, so even in the main lab, if there are 3 people in the main lab, we all need to have face shields on. And that is because that is what is going to protect the wearer. So if you're talking to someone and some droplets are getting through the mask, that face shield is a physical barrier that will stop things from going directly for your eyes and shutting down one avenue of potential contamination. If you are at a workstation and you are working right next to someone, even if you're the only 2 people in the room, both need to be wearing face shields, again, because it protects the wearer, whereas the mask only protects other people from the person wearing the mask. So here's our layout of the workstations in Burkhardt. So here we have the main lab, workstations 1 through 8 and 10. Workstation 9 will not be used. And you will have been given your workstation assignment. Your workstation is already supplied with everything that you need: computers, sanitization supplies, office supplies, your masks, and it's already got your name on it. And no one else will be using your workstation. No one else will be using any of your supplies. Those are yours. If you need new supplies, you need to ask one of the staff. Ask your supervisor where you can get more supplies. Notify us before you run out. Do not go looking for your own supplies. We have the lobby here. We will have one student working in the lobby, assisting with administrative duties. Then we have 4 workstations, only 3 of which will be occupied in the math room, the GA room. We also will have offices, one person working in BB322, and there will be 2 workstations in BB321A, but they will not be occupying the room at the same time. Then we have 4 workstations, 3 of which are occupied at the moment in the soils lab down the hall in 320. And then there is 1 workstation that will be down in curation. And so these are distributed. All of them are more than 6 feet apart. We have set up barriers at the edges of workstations to keep people from moving side to side and to limit contact. And additionally, we have purchased new HEPA air purifiers, and one of them will go right here in the main lab, and it's rated for over 1,100 square foot. And we are going to put one here in the middle of the map room, and we will have one in the lobby as well. And those are rated appropriately for the size of the room. Also, these 2 rooms have very high rates of air exchange, and so at most, it takes 7.5 minutes for the room to completely recirculate the air out and replace it with fresh air. And so that sometimes makes it a little bit cold in the lab, but that is also pulling out all of the contaminated air and making it safer for us to occupy those spaces. In the soils lab down the hall, the fume hood needs to be running at all times so that it is pulling out even more air. 740 cubic feet of air per minute is being vented when we do that. And it also has a high rate of air exchange as well. So we are doing everything that we can to go beyond minimum standards recommended by the CDC and the Indiana State Department of Health to make sure that everyone is safe. So you have your designated workstations that's labeled "Do not share supplies." If you're running low on Post-it notes and you see the person next to you has Post-it notes, go ask your supervisor for Post-it notes, not the person next to you. There's the sanitization schedule already mentioned. The forms are at your desk already. You cannot have visitors. We cannot have parents, friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, visiting. There is no one who is not working, including students who are off their shift and in between classes. They cannot have outside socialization going on in the lab for as long as we are in this situation. The wellness questionnaire, every day, even though it's the same questions, even though it seems redundant, every day you need to complete the wellness questionnaire before coming to your shift. If you have issues with internet access or access to a phone that you can use to complete it before coming in, let us know, and we can get you paper copies of it ahead of time so that you will be prepared. But we're trying to avoid using paper if at all possible so that we don't have any exchanging and sharing of physical objects. And you will have to show your supervisor or care line before you come to your workstation that you have passed the screening questionnaire. So do not close out of the survey before you show that end screen to someone else. You also need to limit the amount of personal belongings that you are bringing into AAL with you. We will not be able to have people storing book bags and lunches and drinks out in the lobby. You cannot bring soda drinks, disposable coffee cups, etc., into the lab, and you cannot leave them in the lobby either. And this is, again, there's a limit exposure to objects that other people have touched and also to declutter. So you bring only the minimum that you need to get through your shift, and you put it underneath your workstation out of the walkway. You can bring a sealed drinking container that is sealable, no pop, You don't want pop accidentally getting spilled. Water gets spilled on the floor. We have paper towels. And you keep that underneath your desk. You can pull it out as needed. Pull your mask off. Don't touch the front of it. Drink. Put the mask back on. I'll take this off now since I'm actually alone. Already covered those. And even when wearing your face shield and your face mask, keep 6 feet apart whenever possible. There are very limited situations that we are going to have people close to each other dealing with the same things. We want to minimize those situations as much as possible. If you have to pass something off to someone else on your team, try to plan ahead. We know when those steps are coming up. So if you can, plan ahead. You finish it before they need it, and you set it down somewhere, and it can stay there for 48 hours so that it has time to self-decontaminate. If not, we have to try to sanitize whatever we can. Some things we can't sanitize. Don't go start putting bleach on artifacts. But when you do have to hand off something to someone else, we have gloves, and so you will need to put gloves on before you transfer that and before you receive a transfer from someone else. And then when you're working with something that someone else has already been touching that day or within 48 hours, you need to be wearing gloves to avoid cross-contamination. Okay. So we really big emphasis here on making AAL a safe work environment for everyone. There are several of us who do have pre-existing conditions that make us a higher risk for complications if we do get infected. I happen to fall into that category, and so I am at greater risk of complications if I get infected. And so we really, and I know I'm not the only one, but we really all need to be thinking about the people who are at risk in our life, in our work environment, for everything that we do, not just when we're in the lab. We need to keep that in mind when we are going about our daily lives, because all of the things that you're exposed to outside of the lab come to the lab with you. So the criteria, the main factors that affect the spread are time, the amount of time that you spend in a certain place or with a certain exposure, how close you are to a potential source of contamination and transmission, and the air circulation in the area. So if you've got recirculated air or stagnant air, it doesn't matter if the person was there 4 hours ago, the virus particles are still in the air. And so you need to be aware of those things all the time. That's why I mentioned earlier the amount of the rapidity with which the ventilation system in Burkhart is changing out the air in those main rooms. It's constantly circulating in fresh air and pulling out the old air. So the droplets that carry the virus is insanely small, but it doesn't travel on its own. It travels in moisture droplets. The spit that we push out when we're talking, any sneezing, coughing, whatever, and that's what the mask is for. The mask catches the moisture droplets, even though the mesh in the mask, the fat and the fiber of the mask, fiber of the mask, it is larger than the virus particles. It does catch a lot of the moisture droplets that would carry the virus. So that's the important variable. So it keeps those from going out, and it decreases the amount of virus in the air coming out of an infected person. And so the close contact, as defined by the CDC and the State Department of Health, is within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes. Now, there is nothing magical about either of those numbers. You can cough, you can sneeze, you can talk loudly and forcefully, and those water droplets are going to go farther. And 15 minutes isn't, it can happen immediately. If you get a big drop of spittle from someone in your eye, Well, that's probably enough virus in that to make it an immediate thing. It doesn't matter if you were there for 15 minutes or not. And so these are just rough guidelines, but generally increase the distance, decrease the amount of time that you spend next to someone, even with a face covering on. And even if you're inside or outside. And so none of the masks, well, almost none of the masks, unless you did go out and get N95, are actually protecting you. It is protecting everyone else from you because we're all acting like we do actually have it and we just don't have symptoms. And so there are some surgical masks that are also treated for nanoparticles that can filter out some of the viral particles. But for the most part, the mask is not for you. The mask is for everyone else around you. If you're participating in an indoor event, this is where we have the most risk. So if you're going to a house party and there are 30 people in this house and everybody's within 2 feet of you, even if everybody in there is wearing a mask, that is an extremely dangerous situation for transmission. And so if you're going to be going to events and socializing, you need to make sure that you are consciously thinking about the number of people that will be there, what you know about the behaviors and the risks associated with the people that are there, and what the air circulation is going to be like, how far apart you'll be able to stay, whether everybody else there is going to be wearing a mask. Because if you go there and you're wearing a mask and you're the only one, well, you're going to come home with every germ that they have. If you're outside, there's a little bit less risk, but still, if you are close, you can get transmission. If you are talking loudly or singing or yelling and you're close to someone outside, that you are still going to have exposure risk to the virus. And so we really, really don't want to see any of these events that we're seeing in the news now where people are going out and going to big parties, even if they're outdoors, not wearing masks and getting into big crowds. And then all of a sudden we have a massive outbreak from something like that. So it will require us to make different kinds of decisions. If we find out that people are engaging in behavior that does not meet our safety criteria, you will have to either quarantine for 14 days or your position and appointment for the semester or the year can be terminated. And we will not have people who are not taking this seriously coming into the lab because it puts all of the rest of us at risk. We have the strongest procedures for safety that I'm aware of within the university for a research lab, but we also have the most number of people. We have 25 people that are working in AAL this semester on a regular basis. Most labs have 2 or 3 people. So we have a lot of potential risk, but if we are careful and we work together and we are considerate, we can do it. We've set up the procedures, we've set up the protocols to cover as many things as we can control to cut down the risk of spread. So this is weird, it's strange, it's going to be hard and stressful. But if we work together, if we cooperate with each other, if we put a good faith effort into following the guidelines and being self-aware of how we feel, the things that we're doing, and the risks that we're exposing ourselves and everybody that we work with to, we can get through it. And I think that we are set up very well to have a successful semester. We do have several very exciting projects going on. And I want everyone to continue to have the opportunities that we have set up. And I want us all to be able to do this. It is possible, but we have to follow the guidelines and we have to be aware for each other and for ourselves. And again, if you are experiencing a high level of stress and anxiety because of everything that is going wrong in the current environment, that is normal. It is okay. And there are resources that are available on campus to help, and there are also guidelines outside of campus for how to help. And it is okay, if you are getting overwhelmed, to step back. So I need everyone to be aware of their mental and physical health, and to take care of your mental and physical health. Because if we don't take care of that and take care of each other, then we don't have anything here. So I hope that everyone had a fun summer. I should have started there. And I am looking forward to working under these challenging conditions successfully, because I really do believe that we can do it. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you in the next week and getting to know the new people that I haven't met before. So thank you for your time. Thank you for reading through all of the guidelines. And please do not hesitate to email me and ask questions if you're unsure. If you're unsure about an activity that you plan on taking part in, contact me, contact your supervisor, and we can talk about it. And we have had several cases of that this summer, where people had things that they wanted to do or things that they had to do because of family commitments or other commitments. And we talked through the risks, and we talked through how to deal with it at work, and we made adjustments. So please be open with us, and we can work together to get through this. And I'm really looking forward to all of seeing how all of these really fun and exciting projects play out, and being able to know that we did that really cool work despite the pandemic. So, thank you. And that's it.